Good morning, students. We'll start our class with the recall of what we have done yesterday, how much we have understood yesterday. So, yesterday in our class, we have started with the topic Parliament. Then, in this, we have seen that Parliament has the final authority for making laws in any country, and it can make new laws, change or abolish the existing law, and make new ones in that place also. Then we have further seen that Rajya Sabha is named as an upper chamber and Lok Sabha as lower chamber. And thus, by the names, it seems that Rajya Sabha is more powerful than Lok Sabha. But the Lok Sabha is, in reality, we see, then we have seen that the Lok Sabha is more powerful than the Rajya Sabha. Then the two houses are known as Council of States, that is Rajya Sabha, or House of People, it is Lok Sabha. So they are both having the different names also, that Council of State Rajya Sabha and House of People is Lok Sabha. Then the length of the term of the government in India is 5 years, and then the Lok Sabha can be dissolved if no confidence motion is passed against the government. But the Rajya Sabha is the permanent house. And then further, we have seen uh, that the Lok Sabha controls the Council of Ministers. That is, if the majority of Lok Sabha members say that they have no confidence in the Council of Ministers, then all the ministers, including the Prime Minister, have to quit, and no such power is with the Rajya Sabha. And then these were the few questions. Uh, I hope you have found out the answers of these questions. That will be the clear distinction between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. If you are going to find out the answers of this, you will get the clear distinction of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So, should we first discuss these questions, or you already know what is the total number of the members? Means you have to give the total number of the members of Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So the total number of members of Rajya Sabha is 250 members, in which 238 members representing states and members of union territories, and then 12 members are nominated by the president for the expertise, some important categories. It is 12 members are nominated by the president. And for Lok Sabha, we can say that Lok Sabha is having 530 members to represent the state and 20 members to represent the union territories, and in which two members are to be nominated by the president here also. And these two members which are nominated by the president are from Anglo-Indian community. And at present, if we see the data of December 2019, then recently at present strength of Lok Sabha is 545 members. Then the second question is, who elects the members? So who elects the members of Rajya Sabha and who elects the member of Lok Sabha? So Lok Sabha members are directly elected by the Indian public through the election process and all. And then members of Rajya Sabha are elected by the members of state legislative assembly by the proportional representative representation. Sorry. Then next is, can the house be dissolved? Sorry, first one question is skipped out here. What is the length of the term in years? Means what is the length of the term uh, to be on the government post for the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha? So for the Lok Sabha it is 5 years, and for the Rajya Sabha it is 6 years. Then can the house be dissolved, or is it is permanent? So the for both the houses, if we see, then Lok Sabha can be dissolved, but the Rajya Sabha is the permanent house. Am I clear about all these questions? So This is the clear distinction between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Then further we have seen about the importance of Lok Sabha, the important functions of the Lok Sabha. Then this the day of life of Lok Sabha. This is just the we can say what all happens the whole day in Lok Sabha session, and just go through this. Yourself can go through this. Today we are going to start with the political executive. Now, do you remember the story of Office Memorandum? Now, again and again, the first incident of Office Memorandum, that is the bill passed by the government. The introduction was there of the lesson through this Office Memorandum only, which we have started in this chapter. We find out that the person who signed the document did not take this decision. So the person who signed this Office Memorandum was not at all only the responsible person to uh, he was only the signing authority, that the person who signed the document. He was not having any means, he did not take himself any of this decision to pass this Office Memorandum. And who signed this? The Joint Secretary Officer of Department of Personnel and Training in the Ministry of Personal Grievances Pensions. This minister signed the order. He was only executing the policy decision taken by someone else. That means he had only signed the decision policy, but the decision was taken by someone else. That means other members, other decision makers. Then we notice that the role of Prime Minister in taking that decision, but we also know that he could not have taken that decision if he did not have support from the Lok Sabha. So, in that sense, he was only executing the wishes of the parliament. That means the concern of president, prime minister was there, but in all we will see overall, we will see that the decision was finally of the all the members of the parliament. Also, it is according to the wishes of the parliament only that this office order was passed. Thus, a different level of any government, we find functionaries who take day-to-day decisions but do not exercise supreme power. Means daily some of the other decisions are taken by the government, but it is not so that that particular person is one person is only responsible for that decision making, but at the backside, if we'll see that many other people are there for that uh, to take that particular decision. All those functionaries who are collectively known as executive, and those people who are responsible to take any kind of decision as the government as a whole, means as a government as a whole, it is the executive. That means the executive is responsible in taking the decision in implementing any of the rules and regulations, and they are called executive because they are in charge of the execution, means for the to execute any policy of the government, and they are called the executive. Why they are called as executive? Because they are in charge of the execution of the policies of the government. To execute any policy, any decision of the government, is it is the responsibility of the executive department. So they are the collective people, functionaries working for the government. Thus, when we talk about the government, we usually mean the executive. Whenever we talk about the government, that means we are talking about the executive who is in charge of any of the policies which are framed by the government to execute in the country or in any state. Then political and permanent executive. Now, two types we will see that uh, in a democratic country, two categories make up of executive. You can underline this. There are two categories of the executive. One that is elected by the people for the specified period and is called the political executive. So the first category is of political executive, which is elected by the people for the particular time period. Then political leaders who take the big decisions fall in this category, in this political executive, the category of political leaders are concerned with. Then, in the second category, people are appointed on the long term basis, and this is called permanent executive, and that is the civil services. People in the civil services, they are involved in the permanent executive. So, I hope permanent and political executive is clear. Political executive people are elected for the special specific period per one particular time period, and mostly they are the political leaders, whereas the second category is appointed for the long term basis, that is for the long job basis, and mostly the civil servants are included in this permanent executive. Now persons working in civil services are called civil servants. Now who are civil servants? Persons who are working in the civil services are called as civil servants. They remain in the office even when the ruling party changes. Whether the one party comes and the another party goes, after every 5 years, there is a change in the political parties who will have the post in the government, who is responsible for the government decisions and all. But this civil services, the people who are getting the services in the civil post, they remain the same. These officers work under the political executive and assist them in carrying out the day-to-day administration. So these civil servants work under the political executive just to help them out in carrying the day-to-day administration. How the government should administer, rule the country. The decisions are taken with the help of these civil servants. Now, can you recall the role of political and non-political executive in case of office memorandum? Now, you might ask, why does the political executive have more power than the non-political executive? That means the political executive, political leaders have more power than the civil servants. And why is the minister more powerful than the civil servant? The civil servants is usually more educated and has more expert knowledge of the subject, and the advisors working in the finance ministry know more about the economics than the finance minister. Sometimes the minister may know very little about the technical matters that come under their ministry, and this could easily happen in ministries like defense, industry, health, science, and technology, mining, etc. Then why should the minister have the final say on these matters? Now, these civil servants are there to help the political leaders in running out the proper administration in the country in different ministries by helping in the different ministries. But then also political leaders are more important than the civil servants, though they are not having much knowledge about their ministries. The reason is very simple. Now the reason is given why civil servants are not given more importance as compared to the political leaders. So in the democracy, the will of the people is supreme. The wish of the people is supreme. Importance is given to the people wishes. The minister is elected by the people and thus empowered to exercise the will of the people on their behalf. So why minister is more important? Here it is made clear that as people elect the minister, the political leader, and give the power to that political leader on the behalf of the people, they only this political leader sits on the post and rules the country for proper administration. And she is final answerable to the people for all the consequence of his or her decision. That means whatever decisions are taken by this political leader, he or she is responsible for giving the answer to the people, because people has only chosen the representative to rule as a government, to make the government. And that is why whatever decisions the political leader is taking, then he has to be answerable to the people for that particular decision. That is why the political leader is important. That is why the minister takes all the final decision. That is why civil servants are just the helping hand to these ministers, but the final decision remains in the hands of the minister, because he or she is only answerable to the people, whatever decision he takes for the upliftment of the uh, country or for the benefit of the people. The minister decides the overall framework and the objective in which decisions on policy should be made. Now, the minister is not and is not expected to be an expert in the matters of a ministry. Though the minister is not the uh, expert in his own ministry department, in his own department, but then also the final decision is taken by that particular minister only. The minister takes the advice of the experts, and for this he takes the advice of the experts on the technical matters, but very often the experts hold different opinions or place before her more than one option, and depending on what the overall objective is, the minister decides. Sometimes there might be controversies in the different opinions might arose among the different experts, but that is why the final uh, decision is taken by the minister. He or she has to see overall objective, overall benefit, whether it will be fruitful for the entire public or the country. Then only that is why the minister decides for the particular decision, whatever decision he or she has to take on behalf of the people. Actually, this happens in any large organization. Those who understand the overall picture take the most important decisions, not the experts. And the experts can tell the route, but someone with the larger view decides the destination. And in democracy, elected ministers perform this role. So, in a democratic form of government, importance is given to the elected ministers just because they are elected on uh, behalf of the public decision, whatever public wants, they rule according to the benefit of the people only. And that is why, though there are many experts giving many different kind of opinions and discussions are there, decisions are given to the minister, but finally the authority, ministerial authority is more important than to decide what is good and what is bad. Next, coming about Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. So here we have read about political and permanent executive, about political executive leaders, and the permanent executive, the civil servants. Now coming to Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Prime Minister is the most important political institution. So who is the most important political institution in the country? It is the Prime Minister. Yet there is no direct election to the post of Prime Minister. Uh, for Prime Minister, no direct elections are there. The President had to appoint the Prime Minister. So who appoints the Prime Minister? The President. But the president cannot appoint anyone she likes or he likes. The president appoints the leader of the majority party or the coalition of the parties that commands the majority in the Lok Sabha as prime minister. So now president has the responsibility of appointing prime minister, but then too he is or she is not only the responsible person to appoint whatever or whosoever leader he wants to be the prime minister, but it has to see that the majority party has to take the decision that to whom to be the prime minister. And then in the Lok Sabha, if the majority of the people are in favor of one particular leader, then only he is or she is made the prime minister by the president. In case no single party or alliance get the majority, the president appoints the person most likely to secure the majority support. If no single party or the alliance, called alliance means coalition, is getting the majority party, then the president appoints, has the responsibility of appointing the person who is likely to have more security place in the more support of the majority of the people in the Lok Sabha. And the Prime Minister does not have a fixed tenure. And another thing is important about the Prime Minister, that no fixed tenure. Tenure means ruling period is there for the Prime Minister. He continues in the power so long as he remains the leader of the majority party or coalition. So no particular fixed time period is there for the Prime Minister to be in the government post, but he or she remains to continue in the power as long as he remains the leader of the majority party of the particular majority party of the Lok Sabha, in the Lok Sabha, or if coalition party is there, then majority party is important. The we can say the support of the most of the people of the Lok Sabha is important for the Prime Minister to remain as a leader in the as a Prime Minister. Next, after the appointment of the prime minister, the president appoints the other ministers. So first and foremost thing for the president is to appoint the prime minister who is who is having the support of the majority of people in the Lok Sabha. Then the president appoints the other ministers, and these other ministers are appointed by the advice of the prime minister only. And the ministers are usually from the party or the coalition that has the majority in the Lok Sabha. Sorry. The ministers are usually from the party of the coalition or the majority of the Lok Sabha. Now, these ministers are also the members of the majority in the Lok Sabha. So, after the appointment of the Prime Minister, President appoints the other ministers with the help of the Prime Minister, with the advice of the Prime Minister, and these ministers are also from the party which is having the majority in Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister is free to choose ministers as long as they are members of Parliament. As long as these members are the members of the Parliament, these ministers are the members of the Parliament, the Prime Minister can choose those people as the ministers. But sometimes the person who is not the member of the parliament can also become a minister. But such a person has to be get elected to one of the houses of the parliament within 6 months of appointment as a minister. So another reason is that the person who is not appointed as a member of the parliament, he or she can also be become the minister for the council of ministers, among the councils of minister. But the thing is that uh, he or she should get elected to one of the houses, that is either to Lok Sabha or to the Rajya Sabha of the parliament within the 6 months of the appointment as a minister. So before within the 6 months of the minister of becoming the minister, he or she should become the member of the any of the two houses of the parliament. And this is to be done who is not uh, previously the member of the parliament. Council of Ministers is the official name for the body that includes all the ministers. Now, what is Council of Minister? It is the official name. Officially, this name is given to the body of the ministers. All the ministers who have been appointed by the president with the advice of the prime minister, they form the Council of Minister. And it usually has 60 to 80 members of different ranks. So, how many ministers are there in the Council of Ministers? 60 to 80 members of different ranks. Now, about these cabinet council of ministers, we will read it. First, in this council of ministers, cabinet ministers are there. In this council of ministers, cabinet ministers are there. They are usually top level leaders. So who are cabinet ministers? They are top level leaders of the ruling party or parties who are in charge of the major ministries, and these cabinet ministers are the in charge ministers of the major ministries. Usually the cabinet ministers meet to take decisions in the name of council of ministers. So these cabinet ministers meet, a meeting is held in the name of Council of Ministers, and the decisions are taken then. Then cabinet is thus the inner ring of the Council of Minister. So if we see clearly, then we will know that the cabinet is the inner ring of the council of minister, because they are the top level leaders of the ruling party, and they are in charge of the major ministries of the government. So that is why cabinet ministers are important. Second type of minister in the council of minister is ministers of state with independent charge, and they are usually in charge of smaller ministries. Major ministries are in the hands of the cabinet minister. Now, smaller ministries are in the hand of smaller ministries means smaller departments of the government are in the hands of ministers of state with independent charge, and they participate in the cabinet meetings only when specially invited. So, when special invitation has to be given to these ministers of state in any type of meeting which is held by the cabinet uh, cabinet ministers. So invitation is needed. They don't generally are involved in any type of cabinet ministry is meetings, but when specially invited, they had to be there in the meeting. They had to be present in that meeting. Third type of category of this minister council of ministers, ministers of state. They they are attached to and required to assist cabinet ministers. Now, these ministers of state, they are a helping hand to the cabinet ministers. They are required to assist. Assist means they are required to help the cabinet ministers in their ministries. So these three types of ministers are there which form the council of ministers. First category is cabinet ministers. They are top level leaders. Second category is ministers of state with independent charge, and they are in charge of the smaller ministries, and they are when they are specially invited for the particular meeting by the cabinet ministers, then they join the meeting. Then the third category, ministers of state, they are the helping hand for the cabinet ministers. Since it is not practical for all the ministers to meet regularly and discuss anything, the decisions are taken in the cabinet meeting. So it is not possible to for all the ministers to attend regularly all the meetings and to discuss everything, and that is why the decisions are taken by the cabinet meetings held there. And that is why parliamentary democracy in most countries is often known as cabinet form of government, and that is why most of the decisions are taken, most of the discussions are also done in the cabinet meetings. That is why mostly parliamentary democracy is also called as cabinet form of government, and the cabinet works as a team. The ministries sorry the ministers may have different views and opinions, but everyone has to own up to every decision of the cabinet. Means finally, overall, everyone uh, is responsible to take any particular decision in the cabinet ministry. Then no minister can openly criticize any decision for the of the government, even if it is about another ministry or department. So this is one important thing to be keep in mind by the ministers, that they should not openly criticize any decision which is taken in the cabinet ministry in the parliament about any other ministry or department also. Even every ministry has secretaries who are civil servants, and the secretaries provide the necessary background for information to the ministers to take decisions. The cabinet has the team as a team is assisted by the cabinet secretaries. Now, these cabinet uh, council of ministers, they are assisted, they are helped by the cabinet secretaries, and these cabinet secretaries, as you know, they are the civil servants. This includes many senior civil servants who try to coordinate the working of the different ministries. Now, these civil servants help these cabinet ministers for taking any decision. They help them in the working of the different departments in ministries. I hope this is clear till here. Now, from powers of the Prime Minister, we will continue in our next class. Till then, read till here. And if any doubt, you can ask me. And those who have not submitted, ask them also to submit the subject enrichment activity and notebook assessment work. As and when you are completing the notebook work, you upload it on the link given of the Google form uh, for work submission, and subject enrichment activity also link is given. So as and when you want, you can upload it as the work is being completed, because overall marks will be given for this work submission also and for subject enrichment activity. Till then, you go through this lesson. Thank you.